I'm sure most parents can relate. You sit your kids down to offer important life advice, and you can practically see the words fly in one ear and out the other. Well, there are topics that sometimes just don't sink in. Those. One surprising way to get kids to listen is by getting the grandparents involved. Here to help out with that money talk is Paul Gaidosh. He is the managing director of Kensington Wealth Partners. Welcome, Paul.
Hi, Crystal.
Now let's get started talking about this study by MIT. It found that young people are willing to listen to their grandparents' advice about money. So that opens up a great opportunity for grandparents, doesn't it?
It does. So we all hear that grandparents can't wait to spoil their grandchildren.
Right.
So typically we view that as spoiling them with toys and money. But it's a wonderful opportunity to spoil them with your love, your attention, and your knowledge and experience. And that includes the area of money and finance.
All right, but starting that conversation is probably tough. So how do we break the ice?
So there are so many opportunities to do that. So the dynamics are so different between grandparents and grandchildren and parents and children. There's no power struggle. It should be very open. And these grandchildren, they are sponges. They want to learn. They want to pay attention to their grandparents, even when the grandparents think that they're not paying attention. There are times when we're shopping with them and we're in a toy store, or we're looking at cars, or we go to the ATM, and all of those are teaching and learning experiences.
What age is best to start this? Is there an age where it's too early?
Well, I've read so many times that we do most of our learning before the age of 5, so it isn't too early. And it's really not too late. Even if there's not been a lot of learning opportunities or interactions when someone is in their younger years, as a teen, they're very interested in everything around them. And they're interested in Xbox, they're interested in Google, Apple, iPhones. And every one of those gives us the opportunity to explore ways to spend our money more wisely.
I'm glad you brought up the teenage years. Even teenagers, grandparents should not be intimidated to talk to the adolescents.
Well, that's right. So I certainly was very challenging during my teen years,
Sure.
and I think I turned out fairly well.
Yes.
And I was paying attention to my grandparents during that time, even though they may not have thought that I was. So I watched them. I watched how they interact with my parents. I watched how they interact with money. I watched how they lived. Did they live well in retirement or poorly? How did they spend their money? How long did they own a car? Did they live in a modest home, but was it well kept? How did they respect those things that they may have purchased, and how do they respect those people around them?
So all of this information is going into the grandkids' head, and they're processing it, and they're learning from it.
They are. They're like sponges. And I don't think the learning ever stops, but certainly during that age, even if they give signals that are contrary to that, I believe they truly are anxious to learn and hear and grow. And money seems to be a topic that most of our parents don't tend to share with us. The grandparents have that opportunity.
Now, the cost of college, another good topic. Some grandparents simply want to pay the bill if they're able to, but you think there's a better way.
So there's a number of ways for a grandparent to interact with the college expenses. The first thing for parents and grandparents to do, I think, is don't scare the child into concerning the future cost of education. That's not their concern. It's more about what can they do to help. So that would be better grades, more community activities. But then there are programs of savings that grandparents can employ. One is a 529 account. It was created by the government a number of years ago, and it allows you to put any amount of money into essentially a savings kind of a program, let it grow tax deferred, and then it's available tax-free if used for qualified post-secondary education. It doesn't have to be college. It could be trade school, could be community college.
And then one final question. Any ideas for using the upcoming holidays as another money lesson?
Sure. So our first thoughts go to gifts and gifting. So there's certainly an opportunity to gift money, but to gift money outright, I'm not sure there's a lesson in that. So to open a 529 plan, for example, a college savings plan, and fund it at some level. To buy some shares of Apple or Google or of a mutual fund or an exchange traded fund. All of that requires some education, and it's a wonderful opportunity. And then watching the value of those go down is a great education. If they go up, of course, we don't pay as much attention. But when they go down, it's a great way to explain risk, reward, money in, money out, and taxation.
There's a big lesson in that. Paul, thank you so much. Excellent advice. And you can certainly reach out to Kensington Wealth Partners for all your investment needs and more information about what we talked about.
Thanks, Chris.